Boom! What's going on, guys? 360 Digital Closing Bell, daily energy market summary here on this gorgeous Wednesday, October 14th, 2020, episode number 137. We are coming to you kind of live on YouTube from an undisclosed location here scattered throughout Denver, Colorado. As always, I am your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com, and international man of mystery, Stuart Turley. How you doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood here in Denver.
Yeah, it's a great day. Good having you in town. We will also be joined a little bit later by President of Entercom, Aaron Vanderford, but we will bring him in later to talk a little bit about not just the ConocoPhillips-Concho deal, with obviously we will cover, but diving into a little more of what this means for the overall M&A markets, because I think there's some lessons we can learn about what we thought might happen, but then based off this rumor, I think there's really a slight shift, and we'll cover that as we get in. Also, Centennial Resources Development updates their financial health. We'll dive into that. Stu's got a bunch of stuff in the international news as EIA's out with a new outlook. It'll be very interesting. I thought moved markets a little bit today. When we look at the equity side, everything pretty much just fell flat. We're trading off stimulus news again. But first, guys, just subscribe. 360 Digital Closing Bell, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. The best way to stay up to date on all of your energy market news. And you can check everything out on the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. As I mentioned, overall indices today pretty much fell all down about a half a percentage point. SPY actually led the losses after Treasury Secretary Mnuchin came out and said on CNBC this morning that getting a deal done before the election is probably not going to happen, just due to the fact that they're so far apart. Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats are really looking for somewhere between 2.2 to 2.4 trillion. Stu, that's with the T in stimulus funding. Looks, Trump's anywhere. Trump and the Republicans are anywhere from 1.8 to about 2. Trump has come out and said he's interested in doing standalone bills, but that's not obviously where the agreement is. So at this point, when you're looking at major indices, guys, it's where these it's where the stimulus money goes. I'm probably looking for a Trump tweet later tonight to pump up markets as we move in tomorrow, but we'll see what happens there. As I mentioned, SPY was down 0.75 percentage point. Tech stocks only down about half a percentage point. Dow Jones finished again 0.58 percentage points. Crude oil had itself a day, though, 41.05. That's 2 percentage points on the upside. No EIA data today, as Columbus Day, as government holiday on Monday, so we'll get that information tomorrow. Some of this Hurricane Delta production is turning on up a lot quicker, and kind of interesting. That's what's moving markets a little bit. We also had a report this morning that OPEC's going to continue to taper their production. Stu's going to get into that. So that's really what drove oil markets today back into the curve. So that more long-term outlook. Obviously, traders do not think that OPEC's actually going to keep what they say, because back into the curve was pretty much flat, 0.07 percentage points, 42.72. Natural gas down 8 percentage points, $2.61, way off most of Hurricane Delta production basically staying online. There's still about 30 to 40% of it still offline. So all of that now, about 60% of it coming back online from what was turned off. Going to drive price down. Also, overnight weather forecast turned pretty bearish. Looks like it's going to be cold this week. And as I'm looking outside right now, looks like we've got a big cold front coming in Denver, or apparently is what I saw. So it'll be very interesting to see how all that stuff plays out. It looks like feed gas was also flowing both into Sabine and Cameron LNG facilities, which is one of the two big terminals that were impacted by Hurricane Delta. So pretty bearish news if you're a natural gas trader. That drove markets down. Back into the curve stayed pretty flat, though. It was actually up 0.25 percentage point, $3 even. XOP, was our E&P securities contract, was up 0.5 percentage point. OIH was up 101, or excuse me, was up to 101.14. That's 1.5 percentage points gain. Our friends over at Liberty were up 0.75 percentage points. Continuing to watch our energy expert interview with him. You can check it out at the world's greatest website, oilandgas360.com. Just another shameless plug. When we look at our biggest equity movers on the day, on the downside, we had a couple. Gulfport Energy down 5 percentage points, 34 cents. Prime Energy Resources down 7 percentage points, $65. Even at Sanchez Midstream Partners, after being up 120% last Friday, down another 13 percentage points, 67 cents. Even on the upside, big movers in the day, Panhandle Oil and Gas, which will now become Phoenix Minerals, 6% on the upside. It's $1.70. Centennial Resources Development off an updated financial health, and we'll get into that here momentarily, up 10 percentage point. And Concho Resources off news that it might get acquired by ConocoPhillips. Who knows? Up 10 percentage points, 48.66. Stu, what do we have on the international news desk today?
Hey, Michael, we got a bunch of stuff. It looks like we're going to have a gender reveal party, according to Turkey's way to do things here. Turkey is announcing that they are going to have a special day on their rig on there. They're going to announce that their 32 billion cubic meter reserves in the Black Sea are now a possible possibly 11.3 trillion in reserve. So anyway, they're
millions or trillions.
Trillion. So they're having a party and a gender reveal party. I've never seen one like that before. Saudi Arabia and Russia and OPEC plus. There are the 23 nation on this. It's pretty interesting. The big elephant in the room is the ability for them to club them like
as you say, club them like baby seals.
Yeah, well, I didn't say that. I rolled up newspaper, Michael. And so it is interesting. They're supposed to cut 7.7 million barrels per day, and they can't keep it in line. So you got all these countries that need cash flow. They're going to continue to sell. So we should be having fun with that one.
Yeah, as we covered it multiple times, Libya's been cheating, Iran's been cheating. If we actually thought OPEC was going to keep to their production cuts, you're just fooling yourself. When we knew it back in March, it's only been reconfirmed as the days move on.
You know, OPEC plus just means more oil.
Exactly. It's, hey, keep prices low. With $5 break-even prices, Stu, I would, if I was head of Saudi Aramco, I would want prices in the sevens at this point.
Here's one. The EIA put out the information on Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And if you take a look at the high-level graphics here, see that big long line up there? That's renewables. See all the other lines? That is coal, natural gas, nuclear, and fuels for all of the Africa and India countries and everything else. So the demand increase over the next 5 years is going to be all in renewables. All of the coal is going to remain the same. So the same amount of CO2 is going to be pumped out into pollution in those areas. Yeah, it's going to be something for us to watch.
Interesting. You were able to download that on the website, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Here is all of the data will be up on the website tonight. It's about 4 gigs, and I'll have it in Excel and in PDF.
Yeah, I was just thinking, how have we never seen the gender reveal party where you drill a well, and if it's oil, you strike oil, it's a boy. If you strike natural gas, it's a girl. When's that gender reveal party coming? That'd be a little hard to figure out. But you just sit there, and if it starts blowing crude oil out, if it blows out black, it's a girl, it's a boy. If you start getting gas to surface, you've got a girl. I can't believe we haven't had that yet. We need to get somebody on that here.
All right, we'll have the president of Turkey on next week.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, it'll be able to do that. Lots of stuff with the international news desk, and honestly, I think a lot of what's going on in the crude oil market specifically has been a lot to do with what's going on specifically with OPEC. If you're trading CL, watch that. As we move into the North American shale patch here, a couple of things. It was kind of a light day. Oxy actually did some presenting today. It was pretty funny. Vicky Hollop came out in this, I don't know what event she was speaking at this morning, but she was quoted saying they're ahead of schedule on debt reduction. And I just went ahead and graphed net debt from 2016 to 2020 and about fell out of my chair after I read that quote. Unbelievable. So also we ran on the news desk this morning, Centennial Resources Development reaffirmed the liquidity and borrowing base, which was, I don't want to say spectacular, but I would have expected a little bit of a reduction here. They actually increased their liquidity by about 6% comparative to the prior quarter, which stock sent flying, as said the stock relatively flying compared to the rest of the market. They were up about 10 percentage points today. Besides that, the biggest deal of the day was ConocoPhillips in talks to buy Concho Resources, and we'll give you the highlights here. First off, people who are familiar with the matter said this was first reported by Bloomberg, but first, I love how they do this. Reported by Bloomberg, but it was originally first published by The Street. So who knows who actually got to it first? Concho Resources pre-market were up 9 percentage points. Finish up about 10 percentage points. Give you an idea. At closing price yesterday, Concho had a market value of about $8.8 billion, and ConocoPhillips had a $38.2 billion market cap. What I want to do here is bring in President of Entercom, Aaron Vanderford. One, because he's an M&A expert. Two, because I just need to get a little background on what. One, if you like this deal. Two, if you think it's going to go through, and if you have any initial reaction to this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Michael, Stu, good to see you. I'm feeling big in this seat today. Um,
Yeah.
Now, the Concho deal is really interesting. So, we've seen more of these maybe zero premium type of deals. It was interesting to see, Concho's been one that's been talked about a lot. For Conoco to come in and say, I want more Permian after they've got a pretty good Permian position, it votes a lot for the play. And certainly for Concho itself, it's a great company, great assets. And so whoever gets their hands on it, I think can make something out of it.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is I think, when we talked about in this lower price environment, with the M&A market was going to heat up. I think this, in my opinion, Concho choosing to sell itself versus be somebody that acquires, I think doesn't necessarily bode well for some of these smaller operators. I mean, they were somebody that was going to pick up some of these smaller companies. Am I not right?
No, that's right. And so yesterday we had a call with Aegis and Haynes and Boone. We've been doing we've been doing weekly, and we got into a monthly cycle now.
Yeah,
And
give us some background. That's a monthly call. If you want any of the, basically it puts together Aegis Energy, Haynes and Boone, Enercom, and it's probably the best overall energy. Just keep you updated on what's going on from pricing, from M&A, and then from a law and financing. I highly recommend you email me, M10 or Enercom, if you want that invite. I'll give it to you. It's just great. It's probably the best. It's an hour long. They've moved it to a month. It's great. Email me. You'll love it.
yeah, no, a lot of the things you guys talked about earlier in the show, Matt Marshall with Aegis talked about where they're thinking OPEC is going to go and prices and demand. A little bit more bearish on oil, bullish on natural gas. I talked about M&A, so I'll get back there. But you guys mentioned Centennial and borrowing bases. Haynes and Boone came out with their new borrowing base sentiment study, and they covered that. And so it was actually really good to see borrowing base held flat. But on the M&A side, these mergers of equals, which I think Concho could be, or these zero premium deals or minimal premium deals, which could be with a ConocoPhillips type of structure, what we saw with Noble. The assets have to work together, and I think certainly the Concho side with Permian is there. You got to figure out who these surviving board members are going to be in the management team on the merger of equals type of scenario, and that can sometimes be hard to get done. And so there may be a little bit of a push to just sell out sometimes. And then ultimately the transaction has to be accretive to cash flows, balance sheet. And both of these companies, Concho and ConocoPhillips, announced, if it wasn't last week, it was the week before, that they were starting their share buyback programs again. And so both of them feel like they're in pretty good shape. They both feel undervalued, and they clearly both feel like they're missing something. And so there's some like-mindedness in where they're feeling right now. And then one of the things to always keep in mind, and Noble found this out, is the activist investors is lurking out there. And so, Elliott came into Noble. It still got done with that deal, but there could be someone out there that feels like we need this isn't the right deal. And so there's a lot of communication that has to happen. Part of these media events, when they get leaked out here, whether it was intentional or not, they now get to test the waters and see if it actually is going to be a good deal or someone's going to raise a stink without actually announcing something. So it'll be an interesting few weeks, and we'll see if we see an announcement on those guys.
Yeah, and so do we think this is a done deal? Do we think this is leaked? Where do you think this is coming from? I always love to, who's leaking this story? Is this Concho trying to, maybe bid up a little bit? Is this, Conoco trying to lock in the deal? Where do you think this is coming from?
Man, I'm not going to put a specific answer out there because I'll be wrong, but all of those are possibilities. I would be surprised if ConocoPhillips is the only one out there talking to Concho at this point. And so I think there may be trying to hold some feet to the fire to get other parties to come in and maybe move up that bid price a little bit.
Yeah, and whether it's all stock, zero premium, I mean, the market's liked it. Stock up 10% today, so it'll be very interesting. We ran an article on the 360 News Desk. You can check it out. From a management side, Concho, they got 44 million reasons why they'd love to sell out. That buys a couple homes up in Vail. But from a merger of equals, it's interesting. Like I said, I think Contra was part of that group that, as you looked at who was actually going to be an acquirer here, trade deadline. I'm a big sports. We talk about trade deadline. I thought they would be a buyer here. So it's interesting to see them kind of flip on the other side, but it'll be interesting again to see when this plays out. Hopefully this can get locked up here in a little bit. As we move forward now, like as I mentioned, maybe this is a sign of the times to come. Are you see anything, and maybe this deal confirms what you've been thinking, or maybe is there a new sentiment as we roll in, as we move forward here, maybe into quarter 1, 2021?
Yeah, so I think the Devon WPX deal, certainly both stocks were up after that one. Market liked it. So now we've got some positive feedback from the investment community, and we've got companies that are seemingly get it done. If Concho does this with ConocoPhillips and the market likes it, I think the floodgates really start to open up a little bit more, and we get confidence. Earlier in the year, we saw some other deals that just kind of fell a little bit flat, and that's going all the way back to a PDC SRC. It's a good deal, but done at a difficult time. Noble deal wasn't all that well received and had a little bit of some headache. I think ultimately it was a good deal, but I think once you start to see the capital markets like some of these things, there's a lot of discussions happening, and I would expect a lot more.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see how it rolls through, and we'll be covering here all on the world's greatest website, www.oilandgas360.com. But I think with that, guys, we're going to go and let you get out of here, finish up your day, get back to work. Thank you for checking us, as I mentioned, out on the world's greatest website, www.oilandgas360.com. For Aaron Vanderford, for Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. Thank you for checking us out. We will see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Daily Energy Market Summary.